Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Jarrell Big Pharmacy Miller. Has he got off lightly? I think he has. He's been banned for 2 years by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He was meant to have a fight in July, which was going to be his comeback fight, and then there was something in a test. So he has been banned, so there was a delay in his hearing being done, and now it's been served. So this is not so much a news video, and for anyone who has been following this channel for any length of time, you'll know that I've gone relatively hard on Jarrell Miller for his doping indiscretions, and some of it is down to his inability to actually admit that, he's done it, that this is his fault, because he just seems to be passing the buck, trying to make out it's other people's fault, or just trying to, absolve himself of any responsibility. And in this case, so he was under the jurisdiction of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And I think this is key when we consider why he hasn't got a longer sentence, because context is key, and we'll come to that in a moment. But it does seem to be that this feels a bit light. So the actual ban is for 2 years. He had a substance in his system, GW 1516, etc. He claimed it was from some sort of black ant magics, a performance enhancing substance. We'll come back to that later. So he's given 2 years, and he can have it reduced to 18 months if he does undergo some random drug testing, etc. Submits a couple of samples per month when called on. Whether he'll do that, well, we'll come to that later as well. But that feels quite light, and I think he should count himself very lucky, because in reality it could have been much longer. And as I said, context is key, and just remember, he wasn't licensed ahead of the failed Joshua test when there were 3 different samples that had different things in them, 3 different substances, and that was a case they couldn't punish him because his license had lapsed. So effectively he was outside of the tent. And I think that has factored into him not having a harsher sentence now, because technically he wasn't under the jurisdiction of anyone just over a year ago when all that happened. And his previous failed test was when he was in a different sport altogether, a combat sport, but it wasn't boxing, it was kickboxing. He received a ban back in 2014 from the California Commission. So, we can look at this and go, he should have got more. Probably most people think he should have got more. I think he should have got more, but I think there are some mitigating factors that led him to not getting as tougher sentence as he probably should have got. If all of those had been in boxing, all of them had been under the jurisdiction of a commission, he probably would have been banned for a lengthy period. But circumstances have dictated 2-year ban, and he can cut it down to 18 months. And Miller himself, and this has been part of the whole thing in recent months, just not willing to accept that he was to blame. He appears to be willing to let anyone believe in this latest infraction that it was from a substance that would enhance the performance of a certain member of his anatomy. But to me, that excuse is very, very limp. It doesn't cut it, and it's an embarrassing indictment on Miller's thinking on this whole issue, that he's willing to put it down to that as opposed to just admit he messed up. And that even though he's popped for performance-enhancing substances before, and on 3 different occasions, and across different sporting contexts, including in kickboxing, he's still delusional enough to believe that he can explain it all away. He is delusional, very delusional. He just does not want to admit he is to blame. And when he comes back, he will no doubt try to couch the issue. It was a misunderstanding. I explained to people this and that. This is what he tried to do previously, and it wasn't washing with most fans. Maybe some people were starting to eat it up, and he was getting some airtime on certain bigger YouTube channels that weren't sort of questioning him, because obviously when they do that, maybe their access would be put at risk. But for this latest instance, he said there was a substance that wasn't disclosed in the product that he took. He will try to weasel his way back into the hearts and minds of boxing fans, convince people to give him another chance, that none of this is his fault or has been his fault. He's a victim of circumstances. And the thing is, the way that he's tried to finesse the issue over the years now, with these 3 different instances, it's never going to wash. It's never going to work, because even if it all were true that Miller, was trying to put some lead back into his flaccid member for this latest instance, it's a strict liability system. It doesn't matter how it got there. Didn't matter how it got there in 2014. Didn't matter how it got there on multiple occasions in 2019. Didn't matter how it got there in 2020. Just that it's there. The onus is on him to prevent it getting there. Period. Game over. Good night. The end. All of this shuffling of the deck chairs on the Titanic by Miller, it doesn't excuse the fact that he's failed again in a strict liability system, and what that means is anything in his system is his responsibility. Doesn't matter how it got there, there is no excuses. And I guess coming back to a couple of other issues before we sort of head out here, will he do the 6 months to shave some time off his ban? Possibly, but maybe not. He didn't actually appear to do that for the WBA when it sort of said, look, you can get back into the rankings, you have to do this testing. As far as I'm aware, that never happened. So will he do it this time? Well, possibly. Remembering he is over 30 now, it's not like he's got forever and a day in his prime. If he is coming back, he is going to need to try to maximize the rest of the time in his career. And if you think about it, if he does actually have a time-served element, and that's a possibility because remembering the test was done back in July, I don't know if there is a time-served element, but if there is, and he also does the 6 months, shaving off his sentence, well, he could end up being back in the ring in just over a year. Think about it like that. If that happens, and that's the case, doesn't it just make a laughing stock of the punishment and the system itself? And Miller, he'll be coming back. He's a 3-time drug cheat on another ban. Is he going to come back from this in any meaningful way? I think like last time, because ahead of this Top Rank picking him up, there was the question, would anyone gamble on him? Because he's a bit, he's a name, he's got personality, he can talk trash. I think there will be someone who will take a chance. Maybe it won't be one of the big promoters. Maybe one of the mid-tier guys will pick him up and try to make something from him, try to use his name to sell some tickets, to sell a fight or something like that. Eventually, crowds are going to come back. He is a guy that is charismatic. He might be able to pull in some fans, convince some people that it was never his fault. Although, I won't be one of those people, but I'm sure that he will come back and will try to explain it all away. Do you think he can come back and have a meaningful career? Can he actually come back and do something in the heavyweight division? Or is he done? Stick a fork in him and let's move on. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.